Do, 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 do. Let's
It
see.
says, got it.
Let's see here.
They're working.
Yeah. Take a second. Get us over here. Turn that on. And we are live on Facebook. We're going to wait a couple minutes for people to log in and join us before we officially start. Do, 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 do. Give Robin a chance to log in.
And Joey, is Joey on yet? Did you figure it out?
Nobody, unless they're on Glitter Shoes and Happiness too. Nobody's on just yet.
Oh,
So this one, I can go to Glitter Shoes and Happiness too. I'll go to the other page. Let's see. Oh, it's not called Glitter Shoes and Happiness too anymore. It's called Pardon My Positivity.
uh-oh. That's right. You did change the name.
Yep.
I like Pardon My Positivity better.
So do I. It's a good name.
It fits you.
It does
Like
fit me.
positive attitude.
Oh, there, got feedback there because I have 2 pages open. So this one is me, and we have 2 people watching, and on Pardon My Positivity, we have 1 person watching. Woohoo! It doesn't tell me who it is though. But we have some watchers now, so we might as well get started because it's 8:03. Hello, welcome to Pardon My Positivity, where we come on every 2 weeks and chat about the wonderful ways you can make your life a more positive experience. My name is Paula, and I am your host. I'm an accountant and business owner by day and a bartender by night, but a happy chick all the time. Not because life is easy, but because I choose happiness on the reg. I created this show along with my Facebook page and now some other businesses to try to help them make the world a better place by helping other people find the happiness that I so desperately needed earlier on in my life. The show operates where we have special guests pretty much every time we air. And this week, my special guest is my friend, Jen Pearson. Hi, Jen.
Hi.
Jen, I know Jen from I'm a bartender at night, and Jen happens to bowl at the bowling alley where I bartend. If you watched a month ago when we were with Joey is Jen's husband. So we're going to get the whole family involved in Pardon My Positivity.
Yep.
It's been my pleasure to know these guys along with a slew of other wonderful people at the bowling alley. And when Jen mentioned she'd like to be a guest, I did with her what I do every time somebody asks me if they're about being on the show, and I ask, what things make you happy? Why do you belong on Pardon My Positivity? And what would you like to talk about, kind of thing. And we decided on juggling a happy family would be a good topic for us. Because Jen is a mom and I'm a mom, and juggling your own happiness as well as keeping everybody else happy meter pretty high is an important thing in our lives. So it's important as moms, but it's also important as wives or significant others or aunts, cousins, sisters. It's important because we tend to give a lot of ourselves away, making other people happy, and lose focus on ourselves. So before we get started with the official show, I want to give Jen a minute to tell us a little bit about herself and why she belongs on Pardon My Positivity.
Hi, guys. My name is Jen. Let's see. I'm married. I have 2 kids. My daughter just turned 18 and my son is 12. I work at St. Luke's. I've been there. This year will be 22 years that I've been there. And I struggled my whole life with negativity, and I've just been the lows last couple of years, realized that I needed to change my lookout on things and live more positive about how I look at things, and realize that, there's other things that I can't control. And that's what always kind of got to me. And now that I'm figuring it out, it's great. So I realized that also is a big thing, because I'm a very controlled and have to control everything around me. And so, and then being a mother, trying to balance my life, working full time. My husband owns his own business, so he works all the time. So I'm struggling, trying to be a working mom, feel like a single mom sometimes, take care of my kids, making them happy, making Joey happy, making me happy, but it's good. And I learned that more as I get older, you start to realize what things matter and what don't matter. And it's really cool. Yeah.
I think we're getting a little glitchy on your phone. So I think we missed a little bit of that, but I think we can hear you now. I can hear you now. It's a little better now. So just give a shout out and tell the kids to get off the internet. Get off the internet.
Oh, okay. Joey, is Joey on the phone? Let me tell him.
Mom gets the Wi-Fi.
Joey, Kaylin, Josh, get off the Wi-Fi. It's messing up my phone. Please, just for an hour. Tell Josh. Okay.
And gets all the service today.
For how much money I spend on RCN, I should have better internet connection.
So for those of you who have never watched the show before, or as a reminder to people, the show airs live on Facebook on Pardon My Positivity. It also airs live on my personal page, Paula Lynch page. It also airs live on YouTube. Unfortunately, I don't have a production staff at this point. Someday we'll be on a big broadcasting network and I'll have a production cast. But for now, I'm watching my page and looking for comments. So if you want immediate attention, I'm usually on my personal page watching for comments there. So if you comment on that one, I'll probably see you right away. I switch over to the Pardon My Positivity page every once in a while. But if you're commenting on YouTube, I'm not going to see it until tomorrow or later tonight when I actually go onto that platform. So if you want to participate in our conversation, best bet is to go onto the Paula Lynch page and we can see you over there. And we encourage participation from the people watching, because we want to know what you think about what we're saying, and we want to know, what's going on in your life, positive or if you need some advice otherwise. So, okay, well then we'll get started with our topic. Yay! So every week I feel like I love this topic. Every week I have a new topic and I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this topic. I feel like I'm getting smarter every time I do a show. You know what I mean, Jen? Like every single time I'm like, oh man, I didn't even think about doing that. Or that's such a good point. I wish I had known that when I was 25. God, I would have been a rock star mom had I known at 25, but I know at 48.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So when we started talking about the juggling a happy family, because I'll tell you guys, when Jen brought it to me, she was like, how do I choose between my own wants and what my family wants? And I thought to myself, like, I remember struggling with that especially when my kids were young, feeling like I was picking myself sometimes over my kids, or never wanting to pick myself, like they have brand new toys and I got jeans with holes in my thighs.
Yeah.
Because I shouldn't buy jeans for myself. And that's the first thing I want to say today is like, why are we so ingrained that it's selfish for us, especially as moms? Why do we think it's selfish for us to want things for ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like that, Jen? Like it's selfish
Yeah.
if you want a day off.
Oh, it's definite mom guilt. And I feel like, I think that was the one thing. When I had Caitlin, I was only 22. And I think the one thing I realized, and that no one ever prepares you for when you have a child, is how you can no longer be selfish. Like everything I want is no longer what I get. Like if I want to go to bed and the baby don't want to go to bed, I'm not going to bed. Like so you,
Mhm.
it's a big struggle for someone who like me wanted everything on my time and to do it my way. And I want to go buy this. I want to go buy, and then realizing as you can't do that when you have kids. And then when you do finally get the chance to go do something, like you said, then you feel guilty. Like, oh man, like I really like we'll go shopping all the time and I'd buy the kids never leave without getting something at the store, but I don't
Yeah,
get
and
anything for
that's
myself.
true.
It's always it's always grocery, something for the house. Never for myself though, and then it's just like, oh, but anytime the kids want something, it's like put in the cart. So it's
Yep.
definitely, you know. And then
Yeah,
when I do buy something, guilty.
well, I think we kind of, I don't know, not that I was raised that way, but it was kind of the expectation around me that, like my parents made sure I had everything I wanted and needed and didn't seem to be having a lot of the things that they wanted and needed. So when I became a parent, I really thought, this is how you do this. You give up all these things that you might want to do to make sure they're
Hmm.
doing all the things that they want to do. And and eventually you get to a point where they're grown and you can do what you want.
Right.
Right. But and I think a part of it in the years that especially when Caitlin was born when you were 22, I had my three oldest, by the time I was 22, I had three children already. Right. So I had those three very young. Becca was much later, but the first three I had really young. And, you not only do you think that you have to give up everything for your kids, but you also have, because you're only in your early 20s, you have limited resources because when your ability to provide is much weaker than it is when you're in your 40s or late 30s,
Uh-huh.
right? You
Yeah.
don't have the kind of earning power at 22 as you do when you're 45, hopefully. you
Right.
know you certainly don't have as much smarts on how to spend money and utilize things. So,
Hmm.
but uh, one of the things I came across when I started doing research for today's show, and I never really thought about it. We always think about our kids are watching us all the time, right?
Yeah.
So we make sure we teach them things like manners, and we teach them things like, I don't know, clean their rooms or have good hygiene or whatever, or don't curse. Or so we realize we're teaching them that. But what we don't realize is that when we do not give ourselves, provide any of our own needs, when we put other people first all the time, we're actually teaching our children to do that to themselves when they're older. So we had
Mm.
parents or we had influences in our lives that did
Yeah.
that gave up
Right.
everything for the kids. And so we grew up thinking that's what I have to do. I have to give up everything for my kids and sacrifice anything for myself. And you're teaching your kids, and I taught my kids that when they have children, they should expect to not have anything
Hmm.
and give it all
Well, it's
up for them.
funny that you say that because like I grew up too with my parents that did everything for me and helped me out, and they were great parents. And still to this day, like I would be lost without them. They helped me out and sacrifice and put me and my brother first and always provided for us. So in a way, I kind of grew up like, oh, Joey, like even Joey, who grew up completely different than I, doesn't understand how sometimes I'm more blessed in that aspect where I have parents that help me out and do everything that I need for me when I ask, no questions asked, just if I need something, they're there for me. Um, so being brought up that way, I've in a way, like Joey calls me spoiled. So then when I have my own kids, like you say, I was brought up to do the same thing for them. But then
So,
there was the struggle within myself of, okay, well, now I'm used to getting everything I want, and now I can't do that. Now I have to give this to them, so it's kind of like a catch 22 where I'm providing the same way my parents provided for me, but yet that's what would affect my happiness, because now my happiness was always getting what I wanted. And now it's
Mhm.
like, now I have kids and I'm not getting what I want. They get everything. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, so that's what really I think started, especially when we're younger. It was tougher, you know. As they get older, I can start doing more for myself. I can go out and not need a sitter and stuff like that. But it's a real sacrifice being a parent and having to deal with happiness within yourself and making everybody else around you happy too. It's trying to find that balance, which can be hard.
Yeah, that's it.
Hmm.
And I think that part of it is, just like, well, my side is a little different. I was the oldest of a lot of siblings. So short of being the first one to wear the hand-me-downs,
Uh-huh.
I haven't peed by myself in my entire life. I think I've never gone to the bathroom by myself because I have so many younger siblings. I was being a mom from age 4, right? So
Wow.
I never got what I wanted. It was always, all right, fine. We don't have to watch Facts of Life. You can watch My Little Ponies, right?
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
fine. I'll eat this piece of bread. You can have the brownie, kind of thing. So it was a little different for me growing up, but still same
Mhm.
point that the the parental figures in my life, one being my grandmother, were such that I watched her give up everything for her kids, for her family, for her grandkids. So she was my influence. So real quick, Joey is commenting saying, "Who's the sexy lady you have as a guest today?" So I wanted to make sure because I know you're not watching. You're not watching the comments that pop up, but I see them. And Joey's impressed with how sexy my guest is. Joey,
Oh
her
my God.
husband, for anybody else wondering who sexy lady is, she's married. Let it go. So, but all right. So tonight, instead of taking the viewpoint of how do we pick between being selfish and our kids or our family, we need to first recognize that we don't have to feel guilty about having needs and fulfilling those needs. And we have to recognize, and I've said this on multiple shows, there's a big difference between self-care and being selfish.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You can help other people, you can be a caring person and still take time or resources for yourself. Guaranteed, guaranteed, you will help other people more as a happy, fulfilled mom than you will as a miserable, suffering person. And
Yeah.
I can speak this from experience because I was a miserable, suffering mom and I was a happy mom. And the happy mom, the happy Paula gets way more stuff done than the miserable sot that used to
Yeah.
occupy this body. So,
Yeah. It just weighs you down.
right. So
Mhm.
don't feel bad. We don't have to feel bad
Right.
about
Yes.
needing
Get rid of the
help.
mom guilt.
That's right. That's right.
Hmm. Yeah.
And or sister guilt or
That,
cousin
yeah.
guilt or whatever it is. You don't have to feel bad. So first we're gonna just run through what is self-care because people really confuse selfishness with self-care. So there's a bunch of different kinds of self-care. Everybody almost automatically goes to the physical self-care. So like getting your vitamins, eating healthy, getting some exercise, sleeping, getting enough sleep, drinking enough water. Everybody recognizes those physical needs. And when you're not meeting one of those, uh, people are more likely to fulfill those needs for themselves, right? Like you don't feel as bad if you need sleep, right?
Right. Yes.
Um, but there's also, 4 different areas in self-care that people are less likely to accept. And it's always the same area. It's the areas that we're less likely to accept across the board as being requirements for a happy life. So the next one is a social self-care. You need social self-care. You need to have friends,
Yes.
or family members that you socialize with. This is especially important for stay-at-home parents,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we keep saying mom because I'm a mom and Jen's a mom, but we recognize that
Anybody.
dads have the same role. We're not
Mm-hmm.
trying to be gender specific when we're just saying moms in this area. We're saying anybody parenting, anybody in family relationships and household relationships. So, but it can be especially hard to maintain a happy self-care level in social self-care when you're a stay-at-home parent. Oh,
Right.
I'm assuming at some point you stayed home with the kids. Did
Nope.
you? No, you never stayed home
Only
at all.
maternity leave, and then like for 10 weeks with each kid, and then I was back to work full time.
There you go.
Yeah.
With each of mine, not with each of mine, but there was different points in my life where I was a stay-at-home parent. There was a point in my life where my ex was the stay-at-home parent when I first started working for the company that I was working for just previously. And in all of those cases, when you're home with a bunch of little kids and have no interaction with people outside of a bunch of little kids, you start to lose your adult identity,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you start
Yeah.
to just be like, oh my gosh, can somebody please talk to me about something besides Bluey? Right? If
Yeah.
I got to hear Coco Melon one more time, I'm going to lose my mind. Can
Yeah.
I please get out of this house and have a tequila? Holy
Right.
God. You know what I mean? That you need to keep your social level high. You need to
Yeah.
maintain that level of self-care. So so there's two. We got our physical and our social. Mental self-care. And this is
Mm.
not mental, I'm not talking about, emotional. That's another one, what I'll talk about in a second. Mental is keeping your brain sharp, right?
Right.
So you want to engage in things like reading and puzzles and learning new subjects. I am always an advocate for learning new things.
Right.
Mine is more because I want to make sure I don't get Alzheimer's someday.
Mm-hmm.
But uh, that is actually a form of self-care that you want to make sure stays on point. Yeah, do you regularly get to engage in anything, Jen, that you think is mental, like to get to read or do puzzles or anything like that?
Um, I like to read, but I never have the time to do it.
Right, because
The beach or going on vacation, or if I'm so my job at work though is very mental. So like it's not physical stress, it's mental stress. So my relaxation is coming home, and then if I would try to read a book, I'd be falling asleep. So
I always have such a time
yeah,
with
I can't like yeah.
I always have such a hard time with reading. Puzzles are better for me. Learning a new subject is better for me. Uh,
Hmm.
I just
I do, you know what I
tried to
do a
learn
lot though?
Spanish again.
I play Sudoku on my phone.
Well,
Sudoku,
that's puzzles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I love that. That I think helps. Hmm.
Yeah, because your brain needs to engage in those kinds of things for you to be mentally happy, for you to be
Yeah.
fulfilled on a regular basis. I
It
have a
makes you
hard time
feel
with
like
reading.
accomplished. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have a hard
Hmm.
time with reading because reading is a single task thing. You can't do 10 other things while you're reading. You have to just read.
Oh, that's
Like if
true.
you hear it
Yeah.
on book on tape
Uh-huh.
or whatever, audiobooks, that's different. But if you have to actually sit there and read, you can't sit there and read and,
Right.
balance your checkbook or watch
Yeah,
TV.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm a
yeah.
multitasker.
Multitask. Yeah.
So I have a really hard time reading. So, but
Hmm.
there's also, so that's three. We've got emotional self-care too. So that's the more of your feelings and stuff like that. And then there's spiritual self-care. And spiritual does not necessarily
Yeah.
mean religion. Spiritual can mean connection with your community. It can mean understanding other people. When you socialize, you're having fun. But when you're spiritual, you're connecting on a different level with
Hmm.
other people. Like when I did Girl Scouts for years and years, that was fulfilling a social need because I was out having fun, but I was also building these kinds of relationships in a
Yes.
community that
Hmm.
would build my spiritual need. Do you
Yeah.
guys, do you have a like a regular community thing that you guys are able to engage in?
Um, church sometimes when I would go, I used to have a really good women's group at church that I used to go to. It was like a reading
That's a
thing
good
with
example.
actually had to deal with anxiety and a lot. Um, and I was a women's group and we go once a week and read a book and go over, and that helped me out a lot. But I think it was a lot, even just being around other women and discussing things and finding there's not, you're not the only one, it really gives you a better outlook on things. And then just pretty
Hmm.
much Josh does flag football. So like if I see people like his friends and stuff like that, but it
Yeah.
definitely helps having social, like you were saying. Like, if you're alone and home and isolate, it's very hard to stay happy. You have to
Yes.
have stimulation and people around you, and it definitely gets you out. Like when you're having a funk, like I hate when some people are always like, "Oh, why do you complain?" I'm like, "Because that's what gets it out." You know what I mean? Like if I kept it all in or hid in my room and cried, like that's not healthy. Like
Yeah.
sometimes it helps to be around your friends and your girlfriends and guy friends and just vent and have fun, and you know,
Yeah.
so that's definite. It's a good
You need to
release.
get out there. I neglected to
Yeah, that's why I
mention.
could never be a stay-at-home mom either, for
Yeah.
that same reason. I like going to
I'll
work,
tell you,
yeah.
it made me, there were times where it made me a little, almost, I did it like a little bit when this kid was born, then some when this kid was born, a lot when Rebecca was first born. And every single time I did, there always came a point where I was like, I don't know who I am. I
Yeah,
know I'm Rebecca's mom, but outside of being
right.
Rebecca's mom or Wade's wife, I lost my identity in there somewhere. And
Yeah.
it's because you're not out socializing, you're not fulfilling your self-care needs, so you get
hmm
lost in there. I did want to mention, because I just kind of glazed over emotional. When we're talking about emotional self-care, we're talking about the ability to acknowledge and express your feelings. So we all have feelings, and all of us, even people who talk about their feelings every day, could do better at dealing with our feelings. There's always room for improvement there. So to have good emotional self-care, you practice talking about your feelings. You're
Yeah.
able to recognize things like your triggers or where some of your ill feelings come from, because you're dealing with them enough that you can say, okay, I understand I have separation anxiety because of these things when I was younger. Or even if you don't know why you have it, you say, okay, I understand I fly off the handle when anybody does this thing, or I have a really hard time with lying. So you recognize
Mhm.
where your barriers are,
Yeah.
and you develop ways to cope with the things. Now, you were just saying that, going out with friends helps, and talking with your friends, somebody calls it complaining, but for you, it helps you to deal with your feelings.
Right.
For me, my daily post helps me to deal with my crap on a regular basis. That sometimes it looks like I got a lot of sticky stuff going on at the same time, but it allows me to get it out there and deal with what's going on in my life by posting it and talking it with people. So
Right. And I said that even with Facebook, like I've gotten better, but I used to post everything on Facebook. But then people would be like, "Why are you talking about that? That's personal. You should talk about." But then I would find that other people are going through the same thing I am.
that's
So
right.
then it helps. You're like, "Oh, they'll give you advice or how they do things." Or so it wasn't like I'm posting stuff so that I get attention. It's so that I actually realize, oh, people have the same anxieties I do, or they figured out like, so like there's always a way that you can reach out to somebody and get the help that
Yeah.
you need, or and just trying to find, like, and that's the one thing I've learned. There would be days where I would like to just mope in bed and be depressed and sad, but it doesn't get you anywhere in the long run. It's helped you get over it much quicker when you talk to somebody and you realize you're not alone in it and they give you advice. And so I found the more I got out, did stuff, went out, it really helps.
Yeah, and I can't even tell you how many times I've gotten messages from people that I don't really know, right? That just people that have come across me on Facebook or found my page somewhere. And the fact that when I put stuff out there, they're like, your positive attitude, even though you have a bad day, or your advice, seeing what you go through and seeing you get through it, even people that follow me, they know me in real life, like patrons at the pub, right? Well, know me in real life, see my daily interactions, and then come into the pub and be like, I had no clue that you had gone through this and this and this.
Yeah.
And wow, you really encourage me to not, have to get through the day, because you had all that happen and you're still going through, and that is how it helps me. Social media helps me, because I'm helping other people just by telling my story. So whatever helps you meet your 5 self-care needs, and everybody's different too. Like Jen's going to go out with her friends and to ease some of the tension she's having in her life and fulfill her needs. And I'm going to write on Facebook, but maybe for you, it's sitting in a hot tub and reading a book, or it's running 5K, like never in the history of time are you ever going to see me running a 5K to eat stress. Not going to happen, right? But for some other people, that's exactly what they need to do. So all of these things are personalized to you. All right. So I do have some comments from Christina Shook, who's one of my favorite people in the world. That's my sister. Educational podcasts are a good idea too. So there's a recommendation for her. And I do like educational podcasts. I'm also like podcasts that are about, they would be educational ones that I watch and listen to learn more things about happiness and choosing positivity and having a strong mind and things like that. And she also agreed with us that mom guilt is killer. It is, but we don't have a reason to be guilty.
Nope.
we don't have a reason to be guilty, because we all have needs. There is a hierarchy of needs, and one day I'll put that in the show, because I can't remember exactly of all of them, but now that I've sparked it, it's a hierarchy of needs, and they're in there is sleep and food and water and attention, affection. They're all in there, and you cannot be a good mom or person without filling your own needs. All
Especially
right, so
when you I was gonna say, when your kids feed off that energy too. So like looking back, and that's one thing I've learned, like when I'm happy, my kids are happy. When I'm kind of sad and depressed, my kids would be kind of sad and depressed. So like they definitely, it rubs off on everyone in your household. Or if I had a bad day at work, and then that's the one thing I learned too, is like Joey and I try it, and we've gotten, as we got older, realized this, like, leave your stuff at work. Don't bring it home with you. Because then the second I walk in the house, I'm bringing everybody down. So Joey might have had a great day, but the second I walk in the door and I'm upset about something, then I'm bringing him down. So it's learning. That's another reason I never want to be a stay-at-home or work from home. I like having the separation between work and home, so that I can just leave it at the office, leave the door, come home, and then I don't have to be stressed out about and never think about work. Or I feel if I work from home all the time, I would think about it.
It would just be bugging you all day.
Yeah.
We're also from, I don't know if it's a generational thing or if it's around here, but I was raised that work and personal stay separate, right? So working from home has been a big challenge for me. When COVID happened, it was, I couldn't do it at all. Now, at least the working from home is my businesses, so it makes sense to work from home. But the whole time I work for somebody else,
right?
Yes, I have a
like,
room
so that
completely
helps if you have like
dedicated.
an office that you can go into and then leave it and then close the door behind you.
That's exactly what I do too. In fact, I started writing down the number of hours I work on a board over here, because I tend to do things like I'll be out and feel the phone call or go through emails, and then people are like, well, you were talking to somebody for an hour when we were at the casino, and I was like, oh, was I on the phone for an hour? Oh, sorry.
Hard.
So I can try not to work 60 hours a week. But when not only does it rub off on your kids, and your kids are in a better mood because you're in a better mood, but you can deal with the troubles and stuff better that happen naturally as a family. Just naturally as a family. Kids are going to do bad at school sometimes. You're going to forget to do their chores. The dog is going to puke in the kitchen. Things are going to happen in your life.
Right.
And if your needs are met before these things happen, you simply deal with them better. You deal with life better if you're in a good mood. I know it seems like common sense, but we consistently don't serve our own needs and then wonder why we're in a bad mood or can't handle the stress of life.
Right.
It's because you were not prepared to handle stress. You were letting everything take away your ability to handle stress. So without self-care, there are lots of negative results when you don't take care of yourself. And we breezed over some of them, like you're not as happy, so you're unhappy. You can have stress. Talked about that a little bit. Anxiety and depression if you're not fulfilling your own needs, and that can get away from you, especially if you're already sacrificing so much for other people. You start to have anxiety and depression. And what do you start thinking? Not that you need to take care of yourself, but that you're even less worthy of the things that you need to fix the anxiety and depression. When you start to get depressed, you start thinking that you don't even deserve the littlest of things that could help you get out of the depression. You don't want to go for a walk. You don't want to do any of, you don't want to eat healthy. You don't want to spend time with friends. You just want to sit in a black room.
Right.
And
And like you
function.
said, putting yourself first is not selfish. And I think that's the biggest misconception, that people who put themselves first are selfish. But it's not, if you're doing it in a way that's healthy and you're still helping other people, but you're still always at the same time making sure that you're okay with what you're doing too. And I help Joey struggles with that a lot because Joey is a big people pleaser. He's very needed by everybody all the time. His phone never stops ringing, but he just stops whatever he's doing and helps everybody. And as he's getting older, he's starting to feel the stress and anxiety of it. And I keep telling him, you got to put yourself first sometimes, that it's okay to say no. It's okay every once in a while to, it's okay for you to do you first, Yeah,
there's one of the shows, I can't remember which one it was. I think it was with Jed Kaiser. We talked about the difference that selfish is when you're taking from other people. We're not talking about that. We're talking about just not giving away until you've used what you need, right? So if there's pie and you take all the pie, that's selfish. But if you have a slice of pie before you give the pie to everybody else, you're not selfish. You had a slice of pie that you also shared with everyone else, but you make sure you had a slice first, not selfish. Right. And that's what you're doing. You're having your own slice of pie before you give everybody else pie.
Right.
You're not taking everybody else's pie.
Right.
So they don't have pie.
And that's the funny comparison, because, back in the day, remember how there's always the joke about moms cook dinner and then they're the last to eat, and because they serve everybody first, and then they're the last to eat. They're always eating cold meals because everyone else ate before them. Well, I went into that where it's like, no, I made the food first. I served myself first. And
or at least we all should be eating at the same time. Like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, everyone's still gonna get some, but it's like
that's right.
Like that.
So the other things that can happen if you don't get self-care, you get burnout, right? Which we all know that. You'll have low energy, which I tend to be pretty high energy. And that is not because, I drink a lot of coffee. I'll admit that. But most of this is just this personality, So you have low energy when you're not fulfilling your needs, and it actually causes poor relationships because you can't build healthy relationships if you're miserable all the time. If you're, people won't want to be around you if you're sad all the time, or if you're complaining all the time, or you're miserable all the time. Yeah, negative emotions are really powerful. And well, I was just telling somebody, they made a comment the other day because some guy looked at me as he walked by, as he drove by, and I said it's just because happy is attractive. People are attracted to happy, that they can feel it, they can sense it, they can see it, and they want to be involved with it. And the opposite is true of sad. People don't want to be around sad or angry or negative emotions. So, they're a good friend, they're going to be there for you. But if you're consistently that way,
Yeah.
you're not going to have the kind of connections you want to have, because it's hard for other people to deal with a constant negative emotion. So you want to make sure you're filling your self-care meter so that you have healthy relationships and a healthy you. So I think the biggest problem we come across as moms or parents or family members is trying to fit everything in. So we got a couple hints on how you can find the time to fill your self-care meter while still taking care of everybody else. So this is one of those times where I got nice bullet point numbers for everybody. So we've got 6 tips on here. The first one is routine. I love, when my kids were young, I loved routine. Routine was the most beautiful thing ever. Hi, Rockin' Rick. I see you there. Happy Thursday night to you too. When my kids were younger, I really loved routine. So that you were like, every Wednesday we do Girl Scouts, every Tuesday we do this thing, every day at 5 o'clock we eat dinner, every day at 6 o'clock we get up, because it makes it real easy to get things done, especially when you're talking about little kids, to have a routine. Spontaneity is a great thing, but save spontaneity for date nights with the hubby. And spontaneity is, if you're having a problem, if you're not having any issues with having self-care and fulfilling all the needs of your family, then be as spontaneous as you want, because apparently you have it all figured out. And bravo, come be on the show and help me figure it all out. But if spontaneity can be one of those barriers for you if you're trying to fit everything in. Second tip is plan ahead. This isn't necessarily routine, but it's things like, this week is gonna be a really rough week. Okay, for example, I'm having a surgery done, nothing bad, nobody has to freak out, it's just a little thing. So but I will be kind of out of commission for a couple of days. So talking about what the plan is for how we're going to eat and do things here in the house, I was like, well, maybe on Sunday I'll just cook a bunch of meals, and then nobody has to worry about, because I'm the only one with a restricted diet, right? So nobody has to worry about, oh, how do we make meals that Paula can eat? If I cook them all on Sunday, then they just have to worry about microwaving them while I'm in recovery. So that's the kind of things we're talking about when we're talking about plan ahead, right? So making a meal planning, or what is that called when you make meals for the entire week? I can't think of how it's called. Meal prep. Meal prep. When you do meal prep for the week, that's planning. If my daughter is very good at this one. My daughter, Natasha, who has 3 of my grandchildren, she is very good at pre-planning vacations. Like anytime they do go anywhere, do anything, she's got every detail worked out, because but with enough flexibility that they can, eat wherever they want and play extra games to get souvenirs and stuff. But she has it planned out enough that there's expectations of things, like when the plane will leave and how much time they'll have when they're in Orlando, and if they should go to SeaWorld on Saturday or Friday, or so planning, having set expectations helps to free up time.
That's a big anxiety relief too.
Right. Do you get stressed out about those kinds of things?
Yeah.
When I was younger, I used to be a total control freak. I know that's where she gets it from, where she can plan it like that, because I used to.
My mom's the same way. Like, she's got the whole vacation plan from start to finish, but it helps. Like we make fun of her sometimes, but it's like now that I'm older, I'm like, I do the same thing. It's like I want to kind of know, but yet still have, like you said, some flexibility that you can tweak it, because that's the other thing I'm finding as I get older, like being the control freak, is I do plan ahead and make goals and do things like that. But then my other struggle in life was when they didn't go the way it was supposed to go, then I get depressed and stressed out and upset. So then that cuts into my happiness because, we were going to do this and now it didn't happen. So now I'm all upset and mad, you know? So that's the other thing I've learned to have to fix too. Like,
I'm finding more and more people have a problem with that, with letting stuff go. Like have to constantly, well, I don't have to constantly, but one of my favorite things to say to people is, well, is that something you can change?
Yeah.
You know, well, is it something you can change? You missed that opportunity. It was 2 days ago and you forgot about it and it's gone. Can you change it? No. So let's take today and do better tomorrow. That's it.
Exactly.
And we don't dwell on, so you didn't get to do that thing that you wanted to do that was in your plan. You can't change it. So take it today and make better with what you have left. So another way to maximize your time so you can fit everything in is to ask for help.
I'm good at that.
I am horrible at that. I was always horrible at that. I'm still horrible at that. I don't, especially now, after Wade left, there was quite a few things, that I wasn't prepared to do. Most of them were things that just didn't get done at all, but I wasn't prepared to do them. And so my kids grew up and they all moved out and go from 6 people in a house and to I'm now doing pretty much everything myself, right? So I stay focused on getting everything done and not needing anybody else. So I'm very bad at asking for help. If I ask you for help, then I really couldn't do it by myself.
Oh,
if I could do it by myself, I do it by myself. So this is an area where I really need to work on it. So I'm really glad that you feel comfortable asking other people.
Well, it's kind of like at work. I don't ask for help. I like being in control of everything and just doing it myself because I know I'm good at it. I'm getting it done. So I think by the time I come home and then there's stuff around the house that needs to be done, that's when I'm like, okay, I need help. I do everything all day but work. And I'm so good at my job and organized, get everything done that when I come home, I'm like, okay, who's helping me do the dishes and doing this and doing that? But as far as like help, like you were saying, I wish I could be more independent and do things but I rely so much on other people to like change my oil, like little stuff like that. I was just saying the other day, I don't even know, I've never changed a light bulb in my life. Like I rely on other people to do so much for me that it's kind of like, wow, I'm not very independent as a woman. But so then in that case, because I've always asked for help and I've always gotten it. So I was never forced to do everything on my own.
I've been doing things for myself or for other people pretty much my entire life. And then in my long-term relationship, I kind of let some of that, here, you can do these things, you can do these things kind of deal. And then I had to take them all back. And now I'm even more guarded with them. I'm like, well, why would I let you take care of carrying that heavy thing? I can carry that heavy thing. I get yelled at the pub all the time because I'm in there moving kegs around. They're like, you can't wait for a person. No, why should I wait? I have the ability to do it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't. Thank you, Aaron, for picking up a keg for me the other day because I can't pick up a keg all by myself, but not off the ground to put it on top of another keg. But hey, let's see. Well, notes I put here, things when you're asking for help. Kids can do chores, so can partners. I put that on there. So if you're feeling at home, you're overwhelmed. There's so many great ways to utilize for kids doing some of the chores. And there's no shame in having things like grocery deliveries or housekeepers come in. There's always a choice. for all these kinds of things, there's a choice, between the doing it yourself and saving money or paying money and having somebody else do it. And there are just certain tasks that I do not want to do or do not have the ability to do. So I would rather, find another client and make an extra $200 a month and pay the lady to come and scrub the baseboards in my house, because I don't want to scrub the baseboards in my house. I don't want to crawl. I can, you're right. I can crawl on the floor, save money, but I would rather sit here and do somebody's books and then pay her to do the thing. So it's
and that's a lot. That's funny you say that, because that was a lot of my happiness with struggling too, is working all day as a full-time and then coming home and then having to not only take care of the kids, run there doing this, but like now I got to clean, cook, do laundry, and it's constant. It's every day. And then on the weekends, you're still doing that, because you didn't do it during the week. And we used to cut into my happiness a lot, where the routine of doing it all the time. And I felt like I had to do everything and I never got a break. So I'm at the point too, where now that I'm older and I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to pay somebody to come do it too, because it cuts into my happiness, where I feel like all I'm doing all the time is working or cleaning or laundry. And it's like, I want time for me too, to just relax. And
you have to find that comfortable point for you. For me, it is, I would rather have another client and do more work at the desk and pay Tasha to clean the house once a month. For other people, that's do not pay somebody else to do that. That causes them stress to have somebody else do it.
Right.
I know people who have housekeepers and clean their house before the housekeeper comes, which is just silly.
I'm guilty of that though, kind of too. You at least have to straighten up.
Yeah, but so there's no guilt in finding your comfort level on that issue of asking for help. But like I said, I'm a big culprit here in the ask for help area. Let's see, combine things. So you have to make a phone call, but you also have to drive to Harrisburg for work. And you have to call the dentist, and you have to call the kids counselor, and you have to call. So make those calls in the car while you're driving to Harrisburg, kind of thing. You're not getting enough exercise in your life, right? So do exercise with your kids. You don't have to. I don't know why, but in my brain, I've always had it stuck in my brain that if I'm going to exercise, I have to do it at 5 o'clock in the morning before my day starts. And that's not true. I don't have to do it at 5 o'clock in the morning. Nobody has to do it at 5 o'clock in the morning. Exercise is good any time of day. And exercise doesn't have to be treadmill or running 5 miles. Exercise can be dancing with your kids to stupid Coco Melon songs. That's still exercise. Doing
taking a walk,
crunches with your baby on your chest while you're doing crunches. You can be fulfilling 2 needs at one time. You can be spending time with your kids or taking care of your mother or your dog and exercising at the same time, or reading a book, or fulfilling a social need by having a conversation with your best friend via text message while your kid is at the swim meet, kind of thing. So combine things. Everything doesn't need to have dedicated space.
Right.
Another tip, the 5th tip, is say no.
I
used to never.
That's for Joey.
Yeah, that's for Joey. That's for Joey. Say no, Joey.
Yes.
It is okay to say no. The gentleman that I worked with most recently, the director and secretary of that company, he would always give me so much stuff. I was volunteering for quite a few different agencies and organizations, and every time I turned around, somebody was like, Paula, can you do this thing? Or it was undone. So I would just take it and do it. And Steve used to say to me all the time that if you want something done, you give it to the person who has no time to do it, because that's the person who's going to get it done, because that person knows, like they know how to keep things moving and get everything. Even they have no time, they find a way to fit it in. So, and that's a problem, you
Right.
know, we are, and this is a super shout out to my sister who's watching, that we want to make other people happy. I'm a people pleaser. My sister's a people pleaser. So many people I know are people pleasers. JR's a people pleaser. So we we take on these things from other people because we want them to be happy, and we sacrifice our own time and our own happiness trying to make other people happy. It's okay to say no. What happens if you say no? If that person is not going to be a part of your life anymore because you say, I'm sorry, I can't help you Saturday because I have my own stuff I need to do. If they're going to leave your life because of that, they didn't belong in your life anyway.
Exactly.
Right? The people who love you and belong in your life understand that you need time for you. You know, you need money for you. You need experiences for you. You need whatever you is too. That's the other thing about people who love you and belong in your life, right? Like my joy is not playing on a computer, right? That doesn't bring me joy at all, but it brings him joy. So who am I to judge how he gets joy? That's not my place. That's what what makes him happy, but it's not what makes me happy. What makes me happy is to, you know, hang out with as many people as I can possibly hang out with and play my music until my ears bleed. You know, two different people, two different happies. So say no. You can say no. And if they don't like it, I said this not too long ago. Dr. Seuss said it somewhere, like the people who matter don't mind, and the people who mind don't matter. And that's the truth. Right? And the last tip on how you can fit it all in is to be realistic. You can't fit it all in. So we have all these, far too often, all these flighty plans. Like we have so much that we want to do, that we want to accomplish, and we just keep stacking stuff onto our to-do list because they're goals, you know, or they're our responsibilities. We can't give up our responsibilities. You know, you can't say, well, I decided 4 kids are too much, I'm gonna send one back, right? So you have to take care of these things. And so you have to understand, and I had a really hard time with this, you know, so like when I was volunteering with the American Cancer Society and something would come up and somebody would be like, hey, let's run this fundraiser. And I'd be like, all right, let's run this fundraiser. And then when people didn't do their part, then I was stuck running a fundraiser. And it took me a really long time before I could be like, okay, then I guess if the people didn't do their part, we're just not having it.
Right.
It took me a really long time to say, I will not take on other people's responsibilities as my own simply because they didn't do them.
Right.
So, I mean, does that happen to you a lot where there's way too much on your plate, you're trying to accomplish too much stuff?
All the time.
All the time. Like, all the time. Every day.
At work too. I'm busy all the time and juggling a lot of different things and doing them all. And I feel like it's great because I get it done and I know I'm going to get it done. So then it's like, oh, okay. But it's also my problem. It's also not only that, is like we were saying before, is I'm one of those things where if I want it done right, I got to do it myself, which is another thing I've learned too, is like, okay, no, like it's okay to let other people do it. And just because they didn't, like my old boss once told me, and it's true, is you can do something a certain way, but as long as somebody else is doing it, they might not be doing it the exact same way that you did it, but as long as it's getting done, it's okay. And that is like a good piece of advice that was always given to me, because it's letting go and letting other people do stuff. But it does really help to like let stuff off your plate and, you know, not have everything on it. But it's getting better. Like I said, I think life and growing up and every year that goes by and learning to live in the moment and not, like, it's good to plan. It's also, you know, but it's also good to live in the day. And like you said before, if it's something didn't go right today, let it go. And then just, okay, let's gonna go next, you know, and you can't change the past. And,
That's
and my
right.
thing is, so I stress about the future, which I need to stop doing. So I need to just be more present. That's my goal every day, is to live more
That's a
present.
great goal. Like
Yeah.
to live right now. Like you
Yeah.
can be
It's very hard.
prepared.
It is hard when you're a planner and an organizer and you're planning everyone else's life around you and,
Yeah.
setting goals. But then, like you said, when you're trying to set a goal and it doesn't go your way, then you get upset. So then it's learning like to balance everything so that you can stay happy and everyone else, it's
Yeah.
definitely life, lessons every day.
Uh, I know so many people in my life that are like crushing their certain areas. Like I know I feel like I brag on my kids too often, but I wish I was as mom smart as my daughter when I was her age. I feel like
Hmm.
she's nailing it, kind
Right.
of thing. And I'm so jelly that I didn't have that, but I can't go back in time and change it,
Right.
and be that mom at 28 that I wasn't able to be at that point in time. So I focus on where I am now and make tomorrow better, and be incredibly proud of what she's doing over there, and say, I raised her, so I couldn't have done too bad if she's
Right.
smashing things.
Uh-huh.
So, but yeah, and I use those people as influences in my life where I feel like they're crushing it. Like
Right.
when it comes to self-love, one of my best friends in the entire world, I always tease because nobody loves him like he loves him. And but
Mhm.
I wouldn't love me like I love me had I not known him all these years, because
Right.
he really helped me to learn that it's okay to love yourself. It's okay to put your needs and your priorities at the forefront every once in a while, because without his influence, I'd still be in the back. So
Well, that's
anyway,
well, like me and Joey too. That's why I think we get along so well, is because we've learned to complement each other in the sense that we're like yin and yang. So like if I'm having a day where I need to stress out, he brings me down, or if he's stressed out, I bring him down. Like we learn to like feed off each other, and it
see,
really
that's
helps to have
good.
people surrounded you that can like call you out, or like, okay, you need to, so it helps.
Straighten you out.
Yeah, and it's like you said, it's good to surround yourself like that aren't people all like you. Like I think that's
Yes.
where all the relationships go wrong. If you date somebody who's just like you, it's not as going to work as well as if you have someone who is a little bit different than you,
Yeah.
because you have to equal each other out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But if you're exactly, God, it'd be so boring if you're exactly the same anyway.
Yeah.
Like, it's good to have
Well,
something. Like you should have
yeah.
your morals in common.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, yeah.
your standards in common.
Right.
Those
But
are
like, I
good,
mean,
but
like I'm very planned, where Joey's spontaneous.
Mhm.
So we're like, we equal each other, where he wants to go do stuff, but I'm like, oh, we have to plan out this way. And
Yeah,
yeah.
or one of you's like real strong-willed, and like I tend to be pretty sweet, right?
Right.
And gentle with
Yes.
people. And so the biggest problem for me is I tend to get stepped on a little bit by, not as
Right.
much
Well,
now as when I was younger. I
yeah.
used to get stepped on a lot, but I tend to get stepped on some, but like my best friend that I was just talking about, nobody steps on him ever, ever, ever. But he's
Mhm.
also not as approachable as me. So when we handle tasks together, it makes a great team, because I'm very approachable, and people want to be involved. And then he's very, oriented, goal oriented, and
Right. Right.
will stand by everything. Like, okay, you don't get to walk all over us. We'll be nice, but we'll be nice and still accomplish this goal without sacrificing ourselves. So it worked
Right.
out really well. So
Well, like Joey like thinks with his heart, where I think with my head.
yes,
So that's where
yes.
we kind of work it out. You know what I mean? Like all his thoughts and decisions and all that are based on feelings and how he wants, and making people happy. Where I'm more like, I see I call it realism. Like I see the realistics of things, and like, like, uh-huh.
Somebody said that to me the other day. I'm just being realistic, and I was so
Yeah.
mad at him. Here's chaos. But Anyway, we blew through the hour because it always happens on this show. We blow through the hour, get to the end, and we're like, oh my gosh, we can keep talking forever. Unfortunately, people don't want to watch me podcast for days and days on end, even though I can talk for days and days. So we're gonna wrap it up. I hope that everybody learned a little something, something, and that we could helping you find happiness in your life. My next show is slotted to be in 2 weeks, but that does mean it winds up being the Thursday right after the little surgery that I said that I'm having. So I do plan to keep running it that day, but we'll see. I think the topic is gonna be about making changes in your life to make yourself happy. So I'll give you more details then. So I am planning to just do it a solo on that one. But then in a month, I have a new guest, a woman that I've known since, well, her daughter was in my Girl Scout troop when she was 5 years old. So I've known that family for a really long time. 16, 17 years, maybe I've known them. So real excited to sit down with my next guest, Genesis. And so make sure you come back and see us. If you haven't updated all your stuff, remember, I'm no longer Glitter Shoes and Happiness too. We are Pardon My Positivity all over the place. I actually own a company now with the name. It's an LLC, and I will have merch very soon by this summer. My daughter is working on my merchandise right now, so we'll have
That's
car
awesome.
decals and hoodies and coffee
Oh.
mugs. So we'll have all the merch for Pardon My Positivity very soon. And I want to thank Jen so much for being
Thank
with me.
you.
Had a
Thanks for
great
having me.
time.
Yes, it was fun.
My pleasure. And until we see you next time, have a great week, have a great life, and remember that the key to your happiness is you. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Mwah.